sometimes something terrible has to happen before you wake up and you realize that the situation you're in is dangerous. And that's especially true when you're dating an emotional abuser. When you're dating an emotional abuser, it's easy in the beginning to think what's happening is normal conflict. But normal conflict does not look like dating abuse. Normal conflict is when you have tiffs. You have situations where you disagree on things. And yes, you may get argumentative, you may get angry, but you usually work to resolve it because you love your partner and you're invested in them and you want to work it out. All couples have some conflict, but not all couples have emotional abuse. And the difference is when you have emotional abuse, there's no attempt to get closer, to make the relationship healthier and more supportive. There is an attempt at having more manipulation and more control. In other words, when you get into confrontation with your partner, it's about you winning if you're an emotional abuser, you belittling that person and destroying or threatening them enough emotionally to make them succumb to whatever you want. I have 5 ways that can help you wake up if you are in an emotional abusive relationship, because the only thing we know for sure is if you stay in there, you will end up with very poor self-esteem and possibly the loss or threat of your life. The first one of these, when you're with an emotional abuser, they ignore your boundaries and your privacy. What this translates to is that they're trying to tell you that all your waking hours should be spent with them. They demand your time. They don't want you spending any time on your own goals, your own desires, anything you wanted. They basically want that time for themselves. And also, they'll go through your phones, through your emails, through your passwords, through your diary. They'll check everything without your permission. They do this when you're not around many times because they know that you'll be upset. And remember, they're trying to hook you in deeper, not have you be suspicious of them. Secondly, they're critical and judgmental of you. Many couples will be judgmental sometimes. If you've been with someone for a long time, you may say something judgmental, but critical and judgmental with an emotional abuser looks more like they will do this in public. They'll humiliate you. They'll embarrass you. They'll criticize for the way you look or something you said or the way you dress. And then they'll poke fun at it. They can be sarcastic and mean. They're caustic. And then if you try to make a deal out of it, they'll say something about, you're just too sensitive, or you're crazy. They basically don't want you to think there's anything wrong with their behavior. Thirdly, they're extremely possessive. Now, for a lot of couples, this is quite attractive because they're like, oh my God, they love me. They don't love you. They love controlling you. When they're possessive, it means they don't want you around your friends. They don't want you around your parents. They don't want you around anyone who could empower you and make you feel good about yourself, because their whole tactic is to bring you down. They will dismiss any goals you have, any dreams. They'll make you sure and convinced that you will never attain those. Next, they try to minimize your values and your feelings. Whenever you have something you value and you want to do, they'll point out why that's wrong, why that's silly, or they'll make light of it so that you don't feel good about it. And if, God forbid, you try to tell them something hurt your feelings, they once again will tell you you're too sensitive or you're crazy or you have to buck up, like you're immature. They'll use any tactic they can to bring you down. And lastly, they're manipulative. They use guilt. They use shame. They'll threaten you by saying that they can't live without you. They'll do all sorts of things that people that love you don't do. They will never be able to love you to the level you deserve nor you need. So you have a choice. You can get out of this, but it begins by you reaching out to someone you love. It can be a friend. It can be a parent. And if you're a parent and you have an adult child going through this, I'm going to give you a hotline number. I want you to call it. It's 1-800-799-7233. You need awareness, courage, and knowledge to leave an emotionally abusive relationship, but you can do it. I encourage you to do it now.